Hey church, Pastor Jake with this week's midweek encouragement, and I wanted to just come to you with Romans 6 in front of us here this week as we think about continuing in our series. And I just want to encourage you to read this passage before Sunday if you can. There are just a ton of things jam-packed into this passage that are so important, and so if you can get it in front of you before then, I think that'll be really helpful. I hope you've been enjoying the series in Romans. And we've seen some pretty stark and challenging things as we think about them, and then also glimmers of hope. And now as we transition to Romans 6, and particularly in Romans 6 and 7, Paul is going to be particularly vulnerable with us. He's going to be really giving us an insight into even his own need and how Jesus meets that need, and giving us some really good news for living every day right now. And I just want to encourage you with this as we look at the passage together this weekend. And he talks about the work of Christ. It's really a beautiful passage speaking of our being united with Jesus in his death and what that means for us, and then being united with him in a resurrection like his, that our old self was crucified in order that the body of sin might be brought to nothing. And so we're going to be unpacking some of these things and being set free from the rule of sin in our lives. We'll talk about that over the next few chapters. And then what I want to just park on here today for just a minute is, so he makes this really profound statement that I've been chewing on really for the last day or so in verse 11. So you also must consider, you must reckon yourselves dead to sin and alive to God in Christ Jesus. So he's talking about this active believing, and there's more that we're going to unpack on Sunday, but there's some really powerful things packed into verse 11. And so I just want to give you a sneak peek here of the importance of, now functionally, we've had all this great theology that Paul has laid out for us, and now we're getting just heavy doses of good news. And he's going to unpack the power of us believing that we are dead to sin and alive to God in Christ Jesus. And we don't always do that so well. We don't always believe. We don't always reckon and believe functionally that we do have a new identity for those who are in Christ. And so we're going to unpack this as we gather this Sunday. And I want to just encourage you to read through the passage before then. And then also, I want to just celebrate all of the shoe boxes that were packed a little over a week ago. Great job to everyone who was involved in unpacking all of those shoe boxes. Just an awesome thing to celebrate together as a church. And I want to just encourage you, if you haven't had a chance yet, in a couple of ways, to just stop by our fireside room that's right off of our Welcome Center. Take a peek inside there. It is just beautiful. It's a wonderful place to sit with a cup of coffee and have a conversation. And Bev and the crew are going to continue to work on that. Some of the coffee area in our Welcome Center, but this is just a beautiful room to sit, to hang out, to have a conversation. Please take a minute to stop in there. Also just want to remind you as well of our mission wall, which is right across from the fireside room. And if you get a chance just to stop to read some of the updates from some of our missionaries, to keep them in front of you as well. And then I want to remind you of our prayer door. Would love for you to post prayer requests here, specifically praying for people who don't know Jesus yet. Would you partner in that? If God has laid someone on your heart, you're one person you're praying for who doesn't know Jesus yet, would you put it up on this door? I just spent some time praying for those just a minute ago. Please do that. And then just wanted to also remind you that this Saturday, so 9 a.m., I believe, decorating will take place in our Welcome Center and our Worship Center for Christmas. Lastly, wanted to just ask you to pray about partnering with us as we seek to bless 6 families in our community in need. We've been working with the school counselor on this, and we're going to get some details very shortly on this, but be praying about that if you might be called to help us bless some families in need in our community this Christmas season. God bless you. Have a great week. Look forward to worshiping together this Sunday.